The emergency klaxon died mid-wail as Station Commander Zilax watched 15 Kreshvan shock troops surround a human cargo handler in Bay 7, and his 3 hearts collectively skipped a beat. The human, a young female named Mia Garcia according to her personnel file, stood in the center of their tactical formation, holding a coffee mug and a datapad, looking more annoyed than afraid. The Kreshvans, each standing 7 feet tall with ceremonial combat armor that had seen actual war across 12 systems, had their plasma rifles trained on her from every angle. "Sir, we need to evacuate the entire cargo sector," Security Chief Kalthas said, his mandibles clicking with barely controlled panic. "Protocol 7 Alpha 9 requires—" "I know what it requires," Zilax snapped, pulling up the communication channel to the Kreshvan commanding officer. "Rahil, what in the name of the first expansion do you think you're doing?" The Kreshvan officer's voice came through with military precision. "Standard Deathworld Species Containment Protocol, Commander. We received intelligence that this human may be transporting prohibited materials from Earth. We are authorized by Galactic Security Statute." "You're authorized to start an intergalactic incident," Zilax interrupted. "Stand down immediately." On the security feed, Mia's voice carried clearly through the bay's audio pickups. "Look, guys, I appreciate the whole intimidation thing you've got going on, but can this wait?" According to YouTube analytics, 99.6% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. I'm literally in the middle of counting Veluvian grain containers, and if I lose count again, I'll have to start over for the 3rd time today. One of the Kreshvans stepped forward, reaching for her arm. "You will comply with—" 10 seconds passed. The security feed pixelated for just a moment, or maybe Zilax blinked, and suddenly all 15 Kreshvan shock troops were on the floor. Not sprawled dramatically, not thrown violently. Simply lying there, unconscious, as if someone had flipped a switch and turned them off. Mia stood in exactly the same spot, coffee mug still steaming in her left hand, datapad in her right. She looked down at the unconscious soldiers, then up at the security camera with genuine confusion on her face. Command? Can someone explain what just happened? They all just fell over." The command center fell into absolute silence. Zilax rewound the footage, played it again. The Kreshvan reached for Mia's arm. 10 seconds elapsed. All 15 soldiers dropped like their strings had been cut. Mia hadn't moved, hadn't even flinched. "Get medical teams to Base 7, Zilax ordered, his voice barely above a whisper. "Full hazmat protocols, and someone get me the xenobiology department." "Now." "Commander," Kalthas said carefully, "what do we tell the medical teams they're responding to?" Zilax stared at the frozen image of Mia Garcia, 23-year-old logistics coordinator from Earth, standing calmly among 15 unconscious elite soldiers while checking her datapad. "Tell them I have absolutely no idea." The medical teams arrived in full containment suits, energy scanners sweeping the cargo bay from multiple angles. Zilax watched from the command center as they approached Mia with obvious caution, as if she might explode at any moment. "Ma'am, we need you to remain still while we conduct some scans," the lead medic, a Therian named Vexia, announced through her suit's external speakers. Mia raised her hands, still holding the coffee and datapad. "Sure, no problem. But seriously, did anyone see what happened? 1 second they're doing their whole, 'we're very serious military people' routine, and the next they're taking a nap on my cargo bay floor." The scanners hummed. Vexia's antennae twitched as she read the results. "Commander, I'm detecting nothing. No chemical agents, no energy discharge, no biological toxins. The human registers as completely baseline." "What about the Kreshvans?" Zilax asked. "All alive, vital signs stable. They're unconscious but unharmed. No sign of impact trauma, no neural disruption, no toxicological markers. It's as if their bodies simply shut down simultaneously." On the feed, Rahil began to stir. His eyes opened, focused on Mia standing 5 meters away, and he immediately scrambled backward with a speed that belied his bulky armor. Abort mission, he barked into his communicator. All units, tactical withdrawal, classification, Deathworld Apex response. I repeat, Deathworld Apex response. His soldiers began regaining consciousness, and each one followed the same pattern. See Mia. Immediately retreat to maximum distance. Assume defensive positions facing away from her. Okay, that's just weird, Mia said, taking a sip of her coffee. I didn't even do anything. Zilax opened a channel to our hill directly. Officer, you will explain what just happened and why your troops are treating my logistics coordinator like a planetary-class threat. Rahil's voice was shaky, professional veneer cracking. Commander, with respect, that's exactly what she is. Our combat training includes Deathworld encounter protocols. When a soldier's biosensors detect an apex predator from a Class 12 world, the body initiates an automatic survival response. Our conscious minds didn't recognize the threat, our nervous systems did. I work in logistics, Mia called out, apparently hearing the conversation through the bay's speakers. My most dangerous daily activity is drinking office coffee. Within an hour, the cargo bay had become the most scrutinized location on the station. Galactic Council emergency representatives arrived via Quantum Gate, led by Counselor Azila, whose species evolved on a garden world where the most aggressive fauna was equivalent to Earth's butterflies. Dr. Jotaro, the galaxy's foremost expert on Deathworld biology, materialized in the command center with characteristic drama, his temporal displacement field dissipating in a shower of harmonic particles.
Where is she? He demanded. Bay 7, cooperating fully, asking repeatedly if she can finish her shift, Kael'thas reported. Jotaro pulled up every piece of data the sensors had collected. Fascinating, utterly fascinating. The human displays no abnormal characteristics, yet somehow incapacitated 15 trained soldiers without conscious action. Is it possible she's lying? Azila asked. That she did attack them, and we simply couldn't detect the method.
Review the footage yourself, Counselor. She didn't move, didn't even change her breathing pattern. One moment the Kreshvans were approaching, the next they were unconscious. The human's confusion appears genuine. Zilax rubbed his sensory ridges. Then how? Perhaps, Jotaro said slowly, we should ask her directly, but more importantly, we should understand what we're dealing with. He pulled up Earth's planetary classification file. Class 12 Deathworld, highest possible rating. Gravity 1.2 standard. Atmospheric oxygen concentration sufficient to support combustion-based metabolism. Extreme temperature variations, frequent seismic activity, regular extinction events throughout geological history, and somehow humans evolved to dominance. Many species evolve on challenging worlds, Azila pointed out. Not like Earth. Jotaro expanded the evolutionary timeline. Humanity's direct ancestors faced elimination events every few million years. Ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic winters, predators that could crush their skulls with single bites, microorganisms that could kill within days, and yet they survived. Not by becoming the strongest or the fastest, but by becoming the most adaptable, the most persistent, the most capable of recognizing and responding to threats. He zoomed in on humanity's recent evolutionary history. But here's what makes them truly remarkable. They didn't just survive, they thrived. They went from prey species to apex predator in a geological eye blink. Every single human alive today is descended from an unbroken chain of survivors that spans 4 billion years. Every single one. So, Azila asked. So their bodies remember, Jotaro said quietly. Every threat their ancestors faced, every close call, every narrow escape, it's all encoded in their nervous system. When that Kreshvan reached for Mia Garcia, her body recognized a threat before her conscious mind even processed it. And it responded. By doing what? Zilax pressed. By being what 4 billion years of evolution designed it to be. An apex predator so effective that other species' survival instincts recognize it on sight. They brought Mia to a containment chamber, for her safety, they said, which made her laugh, and Jotaro approached with every scanner the scientific community had developed. "Okay, Doc, what are we looking for?" Mia asked, sitting cross-legged on the examination platform. "I'm honestly not certain," Jotaro admitted. "Your vital signs are completely normal. Heart rate, 72. Beats per minute. Blood pressure 118/76. Respiratory rate 14 breaths per minute. You're drinking what I assume is coffee." "French roast, 2 sugars, little bit of cream," Mia confirmed. "Want some? I brought my thermos." Jotaro accepted before realizing what he'd done. Accepted an unknown liquid from a Deathworld species. He analyzed it quickly. This caffeine concentration would be mildly toxic to most species. "Yeah, I heard. You guys have it rough." Mia grinned. "So what's the verdict? Am I secretly a superhuman killing machine?" "Actually, no. According to every test we can perform, you're a perfectly average human female, age 23, working in a non-combat occupation. Your muscle density, bone structure, neural activity, all baseline for your species." "Then why did those soldiers pass out?" Jotaro sat down across from her, which surprised both of them. "May I ask you a personal question? How do you feel when someone threatens you?" Mia shrugged. "Annoyed, mostly. Like, I've got work to do, you know? Today was supposed to be simple. Count containers, update inventory, maybe reorganize the Voluvian grain shipment because someone stored it wrong. Then these armored dudes show up acting like I'm smuggling planet killers, and honestly, my first thought was, great, now I'm going to be behind schedule." "Not afraid?" "Of what? They're just doing their job. Badly, apparently, but still." Jotaro made a note. "And growing up on Earth, were you afraid often?" "I mean, sure. There was this spider in my apartment once that was absolutely massive, and I was terrified of public speaking in school. Oh, and once I went hiking and definitely got way too close to what my guide said was a rattlesnake." She laughed. "But like, you deal with it, right? You learn which things are actually dangerous and which things just seem dangerous. What your species considers learning to deal with it," Jotaro said carefully. "Other species would classify as surviving multiple extinction-level threats before reaching adulthood." Mia blinked. The spider was maybe 3 inches across. "In my species, an arthropod that size would be apex predator on our homeworld." "Oh," Mia processed that. "Oh, that's actually kind of adorable? No offense." "None taken. May I try an experiment?" "Sure, why not? My schedule's already ruined." Jotaro activated a holographic combat simulator. Synthetic attackers materialized, advancing on Mia from multiple angles with obvious hostile intent. The holograms made it 3 steps before they flickered and shut down. "Huh," Mia said. "Your simulation broke." "No," Jotaro said, reading the diagnostics. "It didn't. The system recognized an apex threat and initiated prey species defensive shutdown. Mia, the simulation thought you were so dangerous that its programmed attackers chose unconsciousness over engaging you." "But I'm just sitting here." "Exactly." The Galactic Council convened an emergency session with Mia Garcia, sitting in the center of their circular chamber, still in her cargo bay work clothes, still holding her coffee thermos. Counselor Azila spoke first. "Miss Garcia, you must understand the severity of this situation. 15 trained soldiers were rendered unconscious by your presence alone. This represents an unprecedented security concern." "With respect, Counselor," Mia replied, "I didn't render anyone unconscious. I was literally standing there, trying to do my job when they surrounded me. If anything, they rendered themselves unconscious." "The distinction may be semantic," Azila pressed. "No, it's really not." Mia's voice carried an edge now. "You're treating me like I attacked someone. I didn't. Your soldiers threatened me with weapons, which, by the way, is illegal under station regulations. And apparently, their own bodies recognized that was a bad idea before their brains did. That's not my fault." Zilax leaned forward. Miss Garcia, what Counselor Azila is trying to understand is whether humans pose an inherent threat to galactic security. Do you want the honest answer? Mia asked. Please. Then yeah, probably. She took a sip of coffee. Look, I've been reading about galactic history since I joined this station. You guys have been spacefaring for what, 12,000 years? And in all that time, you've encountered exactly 3 species from Class 10 or higher Deathworlds. Before humans, I mean. Correct, Jotaro confirmed. And all 3 of those species either went extinct or never developed space travel because their home environments were so harsh they couldn't spare the resources for development, right? Also correct. So humans are the first Deathworld species you've met that actually made it out into the galaxy. And we didn't make it out because we built better weapons or tougher armor. We made it out because we're really good at not dying. Mia gestured around the chamber. Every single human you've met, everyone working on your stations and ships, were all descended from survivors. Our great-great-great ancestors lived through ice ages and droughts and plagues and predators that would give your worst nightmares nightmares. We're talking proof that you can throw literally everything at humanity, and we'll find a way to keep going. Are you saying humans are superior? Azila asked coldly. What? No, Mia laughed. God, no, we're a mess. We argue about everything. We can barely agree on anything. Half of us can't even keep houseplants alive, but we're persistent. And apparently, 4 billion years of persistence left a mark. She looked at R. Hill, who was standing in the back of the chamber. Your body knew something your brain didn't. When you reached for me, every cell in your body that evolved from prey species screamed, Apex Predator, retreat now. And you did. So what do we do? Zilax asked quietly. You stop pointing weapons at humans, Mia said simply. Seriously, is that so hard? We're your allies. We work on your stations, crew your ships, live in your cities. We brought coffee and pizza and rock music to the galaxy. We're not trying to conquer anyone. We just want to exist here with everyone else. But if you're going to treat us like threats, yeah, your biology is going to react like we're threats. Because on some deep evolutionary level, we kind of are. Silence filled the chamber. Finally, Counselor Lirana, who had been quiet until now, spoke. A proposal. We establish new protocols for human interaction. No military posturing, no threat displays. Treat every human as a diplomatic priority regardless of their occupation or role. And we educate our security forces that what humans call normal might trigger threat responses in other species. Agreed, Azila said reluctantly. But Miss Garcia, you must understand, your species has fundamentally changed how we view galactic security. Cool, Mia said, standing up. Can I go back to work now? Because I still need to count those containers, and I'm pretty sure someone miscounted the Krelian imports. Station-wide memo, issued 2 hours later. Human Interaction Protocol Update. Mandatory compliance. All personnel are advised that humans, Homo sapiens, Earth origin, Class 12 Deathworld, exhibit passive apex predator characteristics that may trigger involuntary defensive responses in other species. Security forces are specifically directed to avoid aggressive posturing near human personnel. Treat all human interactions as diplomatic priority. Understand that human casual demeanor is behavioral choice, not capability limitation. Never assume occupation indicates threat level violation of these protocols may result in disciplinary action and/or unconsciousness. Mia returned to Cargo Bay 7, datapad in hand, humming an Earth song that Zilax's translator couldn't quite parse. The Kreshvan shock troops had been relocated to the medical bay for observation. The cargo containers sat exactly where she'd left them. Container 47, 48, 49, she counted, stylus tapping against the datapad. Zilax appeared in the bay entrance. Miss Garcia. Commander, she acknowledged without looking up. 51, 52, 53. I wanted to apologize for the disruption to your workday. No worries. Honestly, this wasn't even the weirdest Tuesday I've had. She made a notation. Last month the artificial gravity failed during lunch. Try eating soup in 0G sometime. I'll keep that in mind. Zilax hesitated. May I ask, were you truly not afraid when they surrounded you? Mia finally looked up. A little, maybe, but I grew up in Chicago, Commander. I once watched a woman fight off a mugger with nothing but her purse and sheer determination. I've seen construction workers eat lunch on steel beams 40 stories up. I've watched my mom stare down a used car salesman until he dropped the price by 3,000 credits. Humans do scary stuff before breakfast. She grinned. Your soldiers were intimidating, sure, but I've dealt with worse. Like my old boss during inventory season. Now that guy was terrifying. Your species, Zilax said slowly, rates appliance malfunction and military confrontation with similar levels of concern. Life's too short to panic about everything. Save the fear for things that actually matter. She returned to counting. 59, 60, 61, wait, she recounted. Yep, we're short 3 containers. Someone definitely miscounted the Krelian imports. Is that serious? Serious enough that I'm about to send a very strongly worded email to the shipping department. Mia's expression shifted to something Zilax couldn't quite read, determination mixed with anticipation. They're not going to like it. Zilax backed away slightly. That was a joke, Mia said, noticing. Mostly. She returned to her work, and Zilax returned to the command center where Kael'thas was waiting with a report. The Kreshvan High Command has issued a galaxy-wide advisory, his security chief said. Humans are to be treated as allied apex species. No military engagement protocols under any circumstances. Appropriate, Zilax murmured, watching Mia on the security feed as she typed what he suspected was indeed a strongly worded email. Commander, should we be concerned? About Miss Garcia's email? About having a species aboard our station that can incapacitate trained soldiers without conscious action. Zilax watched Mia pause her typing, take a sip of coffee, then continue with renewed vigor. Kael'thas, in the past 6 months, Mia Garcia has reorganized our entire cargo system, improved efficiency by 40%, and trained 3 new logistics coordinators. She bakes cookies for the night shift, remembers everyone's name, and once stayed 4 extra hours to help track down a lost shipment for a Peluvian family waiting for medical supplies. He gestured at the screen. The most terrifying thing in the galaxy just threatened bureaucratic correspondence. Yes, I'm concerned, but I suspect the shipping department should be more concerned than we are. On the feed, Mia hit send with visible satisfaction, then returned to her container count, humming that same untranslatable Earth song. The floor was all that moved because nothing else dared. And somewhere in the shipping department, someone's inbox received a message that would change inventory procedures for the next quarter. In the end, Zilax reflected, that was the real lesson about humans. They could end conflicts without moving, but they'd also end your inefficient paperwork processes with equal determination. The galaxy, he decided, was safer with them on our side, even if their coffee was technically toxic.